Hey, what's up, everyone? We're back for another week. Good to be with all. Good to see you. I am wearing an actual shirt today. And yes, I still don't have anything back up here. I need to get on that. I want to get on that. I feel like it's the thing to do, but I just haven't gotten to it yet because I am so lazy. But we got a new chair. Got a new chair. You can't even see it, but we got a new chair, so we're trying that out. I know you guys are happy to see that. But anyway, you want to hear the goods. You want to hear the good stuff, so we'll get into it. I'm looking at myself here. That's why my face is sideways. Haven't been on in a little bit. I like the shirt, though. Oh, here we go. Here's the collar. Anyway, we're going to talk about Iran and Israel, stuff that's happening over the weekend. We'll talk a little bit about voting related to the stuff in LA, in California. And then what we're going to talk about? We're going to talk about this little book here that I've got. I'll talk about it now a little bit. It is called Catholics in the Public Square by Bishop Emeritus now, Thomas Olmsted. I believe it was written in 2016, so 10 years old. Someone wanted me to read that, so I read it, and just a couple of things from it I want to talk about. And then any news before we get into it? I don't think so, except the shirt and the chair. I'm actually thinking, let me know. I'm thinking about actually getting a Sacred Heart flag for back here. But I don't know. Now I'm looking at it as like kind of slanted. So it might not work. Anyway, just let me know what you think about that. We've got some pictures, crucifix, and we got some workout equipment. Maybe I should move that. But that's okay. Let me know what you think. Sacred Heart flag potentially. But let's get into it. Let's get into Iran and Israel. If you did not know, Iran and Israel had a little tit for tat over the weekend. It's always on the weekends. A lot of people speculate it's because of the market stuff with Trump, but I think this one had less to do with Trump and more just to do with Israel and Iran. So they had a little tit for tat. What happened was Iran and Trump are trying to, or America, Trump and Iran himself are trying to get a peace deal together. My opinion on that is it's just, even if there's a peace deal that gets put into place, it's not going to solve any problems. This problem will continue until the objectives of one of these groups is met, the groups being Israel or Iran. America is kind of just tagging along right now, and I'll get into that as well. But the peace deal is going on, and Israel is, as the peace deal is going on, is no longer operating over Iran, no longer bombing Iran, but they continue to bomb Lebanon. And Iran, and it's kind of gone back and forth with Iran and Israel. Iran wanting Lebanon to be a part of the peace deal, Israel being like okay with it, but not, and then not being okay with it. And so Israel, I believe, bombed Beirut, which is very north in Lebanon. Usually Israel's operating in the south of Lebanon, south of the Litani River. These are places you can look up and see the geography for yourself if you want to. But Israel did some bombings in Beirut. Iran felt that that was a violation of whatever they're trying to do. They had 1,000 names for it, ceasefire, peace deal. So Iran promised to counterattack, and they did yesterday. Launched, I think, 10 salvos of missiles at Israel specifically. And I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, sorry, I read it this morning, there might have been a couple at Jordan and a couple at Saudi Arabia, but I could be wrong about that. But most of them were at Israel no matter what. And then Israel, so that's when it gets interesting, because this is what I want to talk about. So that's going on. And Trump whether he's playing or he's upset about this because he really wants to get this peace deal together. I believe that he truly does want to get the peace deal together because he is in a bind. He did not, whether he should or shouldn't have, he did not expect this, I do not think, how entangled we are and how it did not really help the United States at all, or Israel for that matter. It's only made things more difficult for that region and the world. He's got himself in a pickle, and he wants to get out of it badly, and he needs that deal. But Israel does not want that deal. So I think they're going to do their best to antagonize. And this is not something that I've invented or come up with. This is something anyone who's been paying attention can come up with. Is Israel, they need Iran to go down. This regime, their ability to shoot missiles at will in that region, they need that to end. They don't even care about the Strait of Hormuz. Obviously, if Iran goes down, the strait will open. But Israel is not concerned about that. They need this military prowess of Iran to crumble. So Trump, when Israel's bombing Lebanon, he's telling them to stop bombing them because he's trying to do this deal. And he says some pretty weak stuff. You can look at his Truth Social in his interviews, stuff like, I'm in charge, you're not in charge, I tell you when to do things, stuff like that. He's saying it in interviews, he's Truth Socialing it. It's such a weak posture. And so after Iran retaliates, Trump is encouraging Israel to not respond. And of course, Israel later that night does respond. And then Iran seems to have not responded since then. Israel did a little bombing of, I believe, Western Iran and a little bit of the capital of Tehran. But the big thing here is that after that, so we have this positioning where you have Trump telling Israel to not bomb Lebanon. They do it anyway. And then Iran retaliates. And then Trump is like, please do not bomb Iran in retaliation again. And then Israel completely ignores him again. So if anyone is paying attention to this, you understand that Trump is in a huge place of weakness. Whether I don't even know I don't know how he is possibly in this position of weakness, but it is an inability to restrain Israel. If Iran steps out of bounds, they get bombarded by US missiles. If Israel steps out of bounds, they have no punishment. Trump has threatened to not help them, to withdraw support of them. That hasn't happened yet. And people can speculate why that is. I have my thoughts, but it's just not clear yet. But Trump is clearly not able to restrain Israel. He is not in control of them. He threatens them all the time. They never do what he wants them to do. So that's the situation. I think this weekend was a very clear, if you're not understanding that, this is a very clear showing of how Trump either doesn't understand or is knowingly just not in control of the situation. Because Israel, and let's talk about the objectives here, and other people have talked about this before. I don't want to pretend I'm making this up myself. But Israel has specific goals, and they need Iran to fall for those goals to be accomplished. They want to be the power in the Middle East, and Iran is the only country in the way. You could argue the U.S.'s goal, which I don't even know this was our goal. I think this might have just been a made-up goal, but our goal is to remove all uranium from Iran. I think that's our goal right now. It seems like it's been changing and made up since the war last summer, the 12-day war, which is cool because Trump named it that and it's kind of stuck, which is kind of cool. But our goal seems to be the extraction of the uranium, which there's debate whether that's even real. And then Iran's goal is their regime wants to obviously stay alive, stay in power, control that region, which is Iran, the Strait of Hormuz now, because they didn't control it before, and some of the surrounding perimeters. So those are the goals. Iran obviously has their goal achieved as of now. So that's why when they're going to the table for these peace talks, and I don't know if you're paying attention to this, there's been 1,000 peace talks at this point. Iran is not budging on anything because they have everything they want. They're in a bad situation economically, that's for sure. But I think this regime is tough. They're willing to go through that trial, that difficulty, if it means they have control of this region and they have sovereignty. So, I mean, they're combined in their religion, these Shiites. It seems pretty tough right now. They've survived all of this. I don't know another regime in the Middle East that could withstand this. but they're sticking strong. So Trump is in a bad place. That puts America in a bad place. And we're going to see what happens. He seems to be getting more angsty about Israel's just total stubbornness or obstinacy against him and his wishes. But honestly, I think most of that's theater. For whatever reason, he doesn't seem to be able to tell Israel something and to mean it. He's just doing a lot of suggesting, not a lot of commanding. And like I've probably said it before, but like a command that doesn't have consequences attached to failure to comply is just a suggestion. That seems to be what Trump is doing to Israel all the time, is just suggesting to them, because he's not punishing them. We still pay them a buttload of money, and that has not even been threatened of being taken away. So we're basically paying them, and they're not listening to us. We're paying them more. They're not listening to us. It's a very weird relationship. So I'm gonna keep an eye on that, obviously, as I have been. I think it is crucial for the world, for America. It is very similar to the Iraq situation, which was a disaster for us. And yeah, I just don't think doesn't seem like it's going to turn out great. And I think we're going to see, it's crazy because I think we're going to see a lot of problems in the future from this in terms of America. Because right now in America, we haven't really felt, we felt a little gas prices increase, not great, but we haven't really felt the consequences yet. And I think in the future we will, if this doesn't get resolved. But yeah, we'll see. I'm curious how this is going to go. Trump is stuck though, and he needs to stand up to the Israelis, which he doesn't seem to be able to. And also the Israeli elections are coming up, so that's going to be interesting as well. So Israeli elections coming up, that leads us into our next topic. So hopefully covered all the stuff for Iran and Israel this last weekend. Next subject is voting, because we've got this situation in California for the mayoral office. And so you've probably already heard of this, so I'll just give a quick rundown. There was two major candidates, as far as I understand, going in that people were thinking could possibly win, which was Bass, the current mayor, and Spencer Pratt, who is trying to take the seat from her. And this Pratt guy kind of had a little bit of a social media run here. I haven't seen the Bass lady doing anything social media wise, but she's already sitting on the chair, so that always helps. So what you have going on is that it seemed that, because you have to get a certain amount of votes, I think it might have been 50% to win outright, and then if someone doesn't get 50%, the top two go to a runoff vote later on. And it looked like it was going to be Bass and Pratt. And what happened was they have these like late mail-in ballot things. I don't even understand how that works, but late mail-in ballots being counted. And this third person, which I'm blanking on her name and you can look it up, it seems is guaranteed. I don't know how they do this. You can look at Polymark and stuff, 99% chance that she's going to pass Pratt just based on these late mail-in ballots. So a lot of people are screaming, fraud. It's kind of shades of 2020 stuff going on with all the voter fraud claims and stuff like that. So I wanted to chime in on that. Obviously, this is a mayoral election. So as far as if you don't live in LA, the impact of it is kind of small, but it would be a cultural victory, I think, for a non, super woke leftist person to win, which this Pratt seems to be kind of a more straight shooter than these other people. And he was doing great, it seemed. And anecdotally, it seems that there was a lot of even left-wing people in LA that just wanted someone that was going to clean up the streets. And this is what he was kind of running on. I don't even know what the Bass lady was running on, because I didn't hear a peep from her campaign, which is strange. And she's obviously the one that was, heading LA during the fires in the Palisades and stuff like that. So I thought she wouldn't have a chance, but everyone was like, no, it's either going to be her or Pratt, which is interesting. But anyway, that gives me a chance. I just want to talk about voting in general. I don't super care about the LA race, except, as I said, as a cultural marker and maybe a cultural loss or a victory. But it gives me a chance to talk about voting, because I always think it's funny, because most people are like, oh, elections are great and fair and not rigged, unless something like this happens, which it does sound suspicious. But I don't know the details. I do know that Shirley guy who did the Somalian fraud in Minnesota, he's been over there, and I've seen a couple videos anecdotally, just a couple of them. But them going to people's houses, they have the list of the voter stuff and saying, you voted this, you voted that. And they go to the houses and saying, like, are you this person? And the person's saying, like, yes or no. And sometimes it's like, yes, I am that person, but I didn't vote for that person, or I didn't even vote this time. So that's kind of suspicious, but we'll see. We'll see what else he can dig up. Sounds like a fun job, honestly. Maybe I'll do that. Maybe if you guys can see me in the streets doing that, that'd be kind of fun. But you don't really get to talk a lot. You just kind of get yelled at. But anyway, maybe it'd be fun. But people have this notion that voting always like works out great, except for these couple of times. And my opinion of voting is like, I don't understand why anyone thinks that it's not rigged. I'm not a huge fan of not democracy in the general sense, but democracy is, most people think democracy is voting, which I don't think that's democracy. Democracy is self-rule, self-government. But we'll use it in the way that most people like to use it, as voting. I've always thought of democracy or voting as basically like a tool of the rich and powerful. They give you the illusion that you have a choice, and then you think you have a choice, but you really aren't choosing anything. That's like the perfect cover for rich and powerful people. If you have a monarch, everyone's like, yeah, that guy's in charge and the country's going terribly. We know it's his fault. Voting, it's like it's our fault, or like it's like the other voters' faults. It's not the rich and powerful people's faults. Which to a certain extent it is everyone's fault, but to a certain extent there are powerful people that can do more. It's a complicated issue. But my understanding is like, yeah, voting, it's meant to be corrupted. And they have like, people are like, oh, handwritten versus the machine versus the mail-in. I'm like, do you not think if someone had the resources and the people that didn't have the moral rectitude to do the right thing, if they have those two things, they can just do whatever they want with the voting thing? I mean, yeah, if anyone's got the time, the resources, the know-how, they can manipulate voting. And I tweeted or X'd this the other day. It is funny in America. I've had a couple of conversations where people are always like, "Oh, Putin," because I'm not a huge fan of Putin, but I respect some of the things he's done. And people, when I say that, they're like, "Oh, you love Putin and you hate Americans." It's not true. But people are always, when Putin gets voted in, it's like a crazy high percentage. I'm like, I know he's like, it's rigged. But people will be like, "Oh yeah, Putin for sure is rigging the Russian elections." But then you go to the US and they're like, "Oh, it's not even possible that the US elections are rigged." I'm like, why? Why is it so far-fetched for powerful people in Russia to rig an election, but powerful people in America would never do that? They would never, ever do that. I don't understand where that comes from. That seems to be some sort of fallacy. Maybe people believe, there's still like moral principles that every American would just never cross, which I'm like, I don't even know where you get that idea either. There's evil people in America. There's evil, rich, powerful people in America that would do these things. You don't think that's true? And it's all you have to do is say, like, to a lefty person, you'd be like, do you think Trump would cheat an election? They'd probably say yes. And you go to a right-wing person, do you think Joe Biden would cheat an election? Yes or no? And they would probably say yes. So it's like, yeah, that's what voting is for. Not saying you shouldn't vote or you shouldn't try to get people to vote right. It's just like, I don't think we need to be naive about it. Yeah. So that's my thoughts on voting. I would love to hear your thoughts. That's just how I've always understood it. I don't understand why powerful people wouldn't try to do that, and even other stuff too. Obviously, the media is a huge tool of the powerful. This is something G.K. Chesterton was talking about in England 100 years ago, and it's still going on, and it will always be going on. I've read about this in the Roman Empire. Obviously, less efficient, but they're using different aspects of media. I don't know if you call it media in the Roman Empire, to get across the message, to convince you of different things. That the emperor is so great, that this politician sucks, this businessman's great, all this stuff. It's been happening for as long as there's been human beings, probably. So I don't think we should be naive about that. I think we should understand the real. We should try to uncover the corruption, but we need to be realistic about this. So if you disagree with that, let me know. But that's my thoughts on voting. Yeah, and we'll see if they uncover any corruption. Honestly, to me, I didn't really look into it too much in 2020. For whatever reason, I wasn't super interested in that election. But it seemed to me there was some good evidence that there was some voter fraud going on in 2020. Whether that would have got Trump to win or not, I don't know. But it definitely seemed to exist. So even if they find corruption, is anything even going to happen? Because who's in control? Are you in control? Are powerful rich people that have just abandoned Christian morality in control? I'll let you decide. I'll let you decide that. You probably know my opinion. But that's the voting thing. Just a little cheeky opinion I have, I guess. And then if you want to know mine, because everyone always, they don't even address what you say. They address like, oh, but what do you think then? If you think you're so smart, it's like, yeah, I do believe that monarchy, dictatorship is the way to go, because that's what you already have. You always have the same thing. You got one guy who's trying to rule everything, and then you have other people that are trying to take that power from him, whether it's a group, political organizations, et cetera, businessmen. That's always what you have. So monarchy, dictatorship just reflects the reality. We don't have to play pretend with the voting and the campaigning and stuff like that. We can just go to the source. And this has been the same in history throughout. And if someone wants to have a more focused argument about that, I'd love to have that. And also, that was another thing I wanted to mention about that. What was it? I can't remember. Oh, it was like right on the tip of my tongue. It was right there. Oh, and it's funny because like the monarch, dictatorship, I know those are like trigger words, but that form of system of rule is present in like every single other organization of human beings known to mankind. So if you think of a business, they have a CEO usually. Sometimes you'll have a board, right? And the board manages, which I don't think is a good thing, because the CEO, you can see him, you know him. The board is like this shady thing. It's like in the movies when you have like the room with all the TVs, and it's like the people that are all blacked out. You can't see who they are, and they're speaking to the people in the room. It's like you don't know who these people are. You don't know how their money works. You don't know their views. Even a CEO you might not know, but you know he's a person, and you can point to him and you can see him and you can touch him, right? And that gives him some sort of responsibility and culpability, some sort of presence. But companies usually led by one person, families usually led by one person, historically speaking, led by one person. Now we have, the feminist delusion stuff, which you can see the results of that. It's like, it's always when you get this trying to flip power structures, trying to go to democracy. But I always like to tell people, even if they're feminists, like if they're a married couple or just a single person who likes the idea of like shared rule in a family, or like the woman ruling, is like, okay, let's just take that for a fact. Would you let your kids vote in it? No, why not? We don't let people vote who are under 18. Why not? Why don't we do that? And they probably say like, oh, they're not educated enough. They're not responsible adults or something like that. And I'm like, okay, do you think people, do you always think the wife or the husband is responsible, knows what they're talking about? Do you think people over 18 in America know what they're talking about? And if that was true, then you'd have to do it a different way. Anyway, I'm kind of getting in the weeds here. But every institution, it comes down to one person has to make a decision. And then other people might disagree with them. They might kill them. They might throw them out. But it's always captain of a ship. What, is it a democracy? Are people voting every time you want to do something? It's like, doesn't work. Militaries, imagine a military as a democracy. Just imagine it. Imagine all the people. We don't have to do that. Just imagine that. So hopefully just to get you thinking, I'm not saying this is a foolproof argument I'm giving. Just kind of my initial thoughts on the voting thing. Not a huge fan. It's just an illusion, in my opinion. And it always comes down to violence. Not necessarily. Violence and moral rectitude, I would say. But you can go to Plato's Republic. All right, you read it, you let me know what you think. I am accused of not explaining things fully, so hopefully that was good enough. And if you have any questions, let me know. I want to get into this pamphlet real quick. How much time are we? Yeah, we've been kind of going a little long. It's called, like I said, Catholics in the Public Square by Bishop Emeritus Olmsted. So just a couple of thoughts. It's kind of straightforward, kind of what you expect. I'll give you kind of the brief highlights is like, yes, laymen are expected to be involved politically. So for all the people that are always telling me like, I don't want to do a hit, like, hey man, like Catholics, dude, we just like, it's just about being spiritual, man. We don't want to get political. Like, no, it's not true. This is a bishop telling you that now. It's not just me. Laymen are responsible for the temporal order, and that involves politics, obviously. So we need to be involved. You have to have your religion affect every part of your life, which includes politics. So any of those people that are like, leave religion out of politics, if you're a Catholic that thinks that is just, I don't know where you got that from. It's just not true. And not directly talking about it, but indirectly discussing how like the people, the laymen that can really make an impact are the Catholics that can become politicians, lawyers, policymakers, right? Those are the people we need. And I think there's been this move by whoever, whether it's communists, other religions, people that hate us, which is like everyone, I don't know who it is. They've convinced us like, oh, Catholics aren't political, or like not telling Catholic parents to not have their kids be lawyers and stuff like this. Is like, that's crazy. We need good lawyers. We need good Catholic lawyers, politicians. And that's why I'm always repping this Fishback guy in Florida, because he is doing the thing. Catholic lawyer, successful, and now running for office and running on the idea that he will be a Catholic governor if he's voted governor of Florida. Did I say California before I meant Florida? If I said California. But that's what we need. And I think this pamphlet just supports that. And then another thing, so that's what it says. But then one more thing from the forward by Jose Gomez. I don't know if he's still the Archbishop of Los Angeles, kind of related to our voting thing. But he said in the forward, he talks about how obviously the best way that you can impact the culture, the temporal society of your nation, is you first have to get yourself in line. I meant to look up the statistics for pornography again, because I've heard a couple and I'm like, I don't even know which one's true. But if you are in mortal sin, I'll use pornography as an example. If you are watching pornography, if you are struggling in that sin, you will not help us by becoming a politician. You will not help anyone do anything. I don't want to get down on you, but I do want you to focus on that first. We need to get rid of habitual sin in general, before we can be of help to anyone. And he makes that point. And I think it's worth reiterating, because I think it happens a lot of the times that people want to do a good thing, but they haven't mastered themselves. And you'll hear me talk about this all the time. If you have not mastered yourself, you're not going to help anyone else at all. Even me doing this podcast, hopefully I've mastered myself. I think I have. Humility is being honest. So I think I've have to a certain extent. If I was doing this podcast and I'm, addicted to pornography, I don't think I would be of any help to you at all. I might not be of any help to you anyway, but I certainly wouldn't be of help to you if I had those addictions. So pretty good pamphlet, kind of straightforward, not like anything out of left field. He does talk about how politicians that do not rep Catholic moral teaching should be reprimanded. Obviously, that's not happening, unfortunately. But hopefully we'll get some brave bishops, some brave leaders of the church that will do that in the future. But yeah, so that's that pamphlet. Look for it. Probably free some places, honestly, so I definitely recommend reading it. And that's what we got for today. So let me know if you have any questions, comments, concerns. Leave a comment, like, subscribe, share it. You can share it. If you like it, share it. And maybe I'll get some interaction, some arguments. That's what I'm really looking forward to. But until then, God bless you, God keep you, God be with you, and I will see you later.